back. All right, let's give this another try. Wish me luck. Holy schmackaroonies. I'm just gonna give it a try. Oh, hi, look at that. We're kind of, oh, my overhead light is on. Completely unprofessional, but that happens when things take a giant dump while I'm trying to get started. Clearly the gremlins are out. Everybody buckle in. It's going to be a good time. This morning, our dear friend Cliff Schechter will be joining us at the half-hour point in about 15 minutes. And then Tara Dublin, who does indeed rock, will be on second hour. Thanks. This is a shirt I made of my dad, which has my favorite picture of my dad that doesn't include me on it. And it says, I don't know if you can see it. It says, where do you want it? Across the bottom. So, because he's holding a live snake. Anyways, so yeah, this is... I made this on, I'll get all mushy. It's true. It's Christmas week, so I'm allowed, all right? And so, also, I want to thank Cliff and David Schuster for having me on their show last week. Great conversation. And I feel like I got to hit the hard points. Now we just got to get me on MS Now. Look, if Dean can do it, I mean, I understand they're in New York, and that's part of it. Like, you guys do know I need to spend like a month in New York just so I can, anytime they're like, hey, could you come on and be on the show in a half an hour? I can go, yeah, I'll be over there. I'll be on the next train, right? So I'm fairly sure. Oh, by the way, hello, chat room. Let me bring in the chat. It's rude for me to exclude you for this long. That hat your dad has on is a real cowboy hat. It's a straight up, it's a derby from I think 1910. We still have the hat. I need a publicist. You're absolutely right. I had one for a while. If you'll recall, that was Project Publicist like 2 years ago. And it ended up being really expensive and like no problem with the person I hired, but very expensive for what I got in exchange. Because by and large these days, what publicists do, they used to get you in magazines. They used to get you in newspapers. That was their focus. And now it's all like, new media, we'll get you on a podcast. And you're like, I can get me on a podcast. That's not a problem. Anyways, it was a lot for a little. And again, it's just the way things are run these days. It's very peculiar in that regard. Bless their hearts. So, let's see if we can do this. All right, make sure my interview thing is set up. Excellent. And the camera's all right. Excellent. So we're all here. Hi, everybody. I do seem a little, is it the gamma's low? What's happening? My gamma's high. There we go. It's a little better. I feel like I was losing color. Yeah, something like that. It might just be the monitor I'm on. But hi, Carl. Big hug. Yes, indeed, talk soup, right? Although this is more like space soup, or I suppose we're your publicists. I know you are, Robin, and I appreciate you guys pulling clips from the show, especially on Twitch, and posting them online. It's a wonderful, wonderful thing. My New Year's resolution. I do my New Year's resolutions on my birthday every year, and which were obviously put on pause for about a month and a half because of my dad. But I always do one New Year's resolution at actual New Year's. And so that is to farm your clips more efficiently. if I may, and release the shorter pieces and edit those things and whatever. Sporting the Jack Sparrow look. Try that. It's a terrible Jack Sparrow. I haven't even bothered. I don't even know that have I watched one all the way through? Of course I have. I've watched at least one all the way through, I think. Good morning. Hi, everybody. There you go. How it looks like you're in a laundromat. Oh, thanks very much. Yeah, it's a space laundromat. Yeah. Space has circular windows, and so do dryers. Coincidence? I think not. Okay, obviously lots to talk about. The big fallout, I would say, ladies and gentlemen, ladies and schmerms, is I am not ready to watch Rob Reiner retrospectives yet. The man was too sweet and taken too quickly, and bless Michelle and on her journey past this life as well, because that's when you have a famous spouse, a lot of attention gets thrown their way, and so the two of them, both lovely as human beings. Hello, Kathleen. And so I'm not there yet. I'm not ready to watch that. I know you guys know what I mean. I'm just not. That's not happening. So lots to talk about. Obviously, some late night Friday dumps, and we talked about Stefanik being on her way out. We talked about MTG being on her way out. I mean, think about these year in review is a big thing, and I'll do a bigger one when we're closer to New Year's, obviously. But let's think of all. I mean, we should have an in memoriam of shitty Republicans we've lost. Not lost from the earth plane, but lost in terms of they're not running anymore. They're out. I mean, it'd be a funny one. That would be a good idea. I'll put together a funny goodbye video. That would be a good idea. Like a year in memoriam of the people that that have quit the Republican Party or not running. Joni Ernst is heading out. That's right. You're the guy who cries on the internet. This is true. I'm the guy who is not afraid of that. I guess the way to put it is my masculinity is so sound, I fear no man's judgment of it. Which I think is what, I don't know, look, but far be it from me to define what masculinity is for an entire generation, and yet I think I can. It's that the key to it would be that no person can judge it. That it stands on its own. Oh, what music in the background of the... I think it would be a very slow, plodding version of Yakety Sax. Or like a really slow elephant. You know what I could do is just like try to do a really slow version of. Dum 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 dum. Know what I mean? Dum dum stupid. Goodbye. Dumb silly stupid dum dum. In memoriam of the careers of all the Republicans that have quit. And we're gonna do a couple things. One is, all right. The other thing I think we can say goodbye to this year, more than likely, will be Trump's brain. Like, there wasn't much of it left anyways. But I feel like big chunks of it will have to be, memorialized. His, what passed for a sense of humor, which in most cases was just like low-res roasting remarks. One of the reasons why, I go over this with the Republicans all the time is that they think he's savage or that he is funny. And the reason they think he's funny is because their idea of funny is being shitty in a situation you're not supposed to be shitty in. That's enough. There's there's been a divide, if I may, point of order, Mr. Chairman, as a comedian that I have seen in the bifurcation of comedic tone over the last probably 20 years. And on the one hand, I would say what would effectively be the left-leaning humor is self-effacing fear of irony. That the whole thing is like, I don't want to be caught trying too hard. So you see that in like the Ghostbusters with the all-female cast. Almost every joke was them trying to do something and then being ashamed of being caught trying too hard. Yeah, let's do this. How about let's not? How about not? Don't do that ever again. Right? That's the gag. When we hear it over and over and over again, and the root of it is don't be caught trying too hard. It's embarrassing, and therefore the root of that is that other people have the right to determine your worth. Maybe it's a reference to Instagram life. Maybe it's just the generation of participation trophy kids growing up and wanting to feel special, and then everybody feels special, so nobody's special, like the line from The Incredibles. But that's a big part of it. You guys recognize that, chat? Let me know. That I see that joke over and over and over again. And the issue that obviously comes with that is, okay, hold on, let me make sure my audio is good, is that it's counterpoint. What will happen is that sense of humor, those jokes, will be so assigned to a political or a psychological or emotional way of thinking that the counterpoint to it will also rise. So what you'll have on the one hand is people who are afraid to try too hard. And the other people, the opposite of that joke is, I suppose hold on, let me move this back. Is being a dick at a funeral or a church or whatever. The whole thing is being a complete asshole. Thanks, CSL. And I have my my interview thing, I think, open for him. Yeah, so I'll be ready when he comes in. So the counterpoint has been the Tony Hinchcliffe kind of Trump roast idea. And all you have to do is be shitty to somebody, and it gets that, oh my God, laugh. It gets that, that basic shock laugh, right? Which is what, shock comics were like in the late 80s to some degree. There was more craftsmanship to it. I would argue that Kinison, say, had more craftsmanship than Dice did. But they were both benefiting from the shock laugh. And the shock laugh only comes from civility being violated. And that everyone has to participate in civility, and that participation has to be violated egregiously and quickly. Louis C.K.'s entire act is based on that, is the violation of civility. And so the reason that comes to arise at certain times is because our side of the aisle became, and this is what most people cheaply refer to as being politically correct or woke, enforced civility even in places where incivility reigns, like comedy clubs or when people are joking. Louis C.K. commenting on civility is rich. Right, well, he's not commenting on it. He's taking our commitment to it or other people's commitment to it and he's violating that trust egregiously, and that's what makes the laugh come. Because people, laugh out of shock. It's a very similar laugh, and it's a very effective laugh to when someone falls down. It's a social pratfall. Does that make sense? I know I'm losing you. I know you guys, because you're not comedy scientists like I choose to be. But this is key to understanding why they think Trump is funny and where their humor comes from. And it is a violation of civic trust. And there are variations of it. There are mild variations of it. Most comedy is based on a violation of civic trust, in that you don't talk that way about your wife and kids. You don't talk that way about your parents. You don't talk that way about strangers. And in comedy, you do. You come out and you say everything that everybody's not willing to say or afraid to say or whatever that shit is, right? And you do it in a all the way up to almost this a school shooter level of violation of public trust, which would be Anthony Jeselnik's jokes or Louis C.K.'s jokes. Although I would give Jeselnik more credit for as a joke writer, a clear joke writer. There's clearly a character he is doing on stage, which I've always said camp guard, Nazi camp guard doing an open mic. But it's probably more in line with the character Dice was doing, further from his actual self than, say, Kinison. Kinison's act, while over the top, was very close to his actual self. His own, chirpy, elfish laugh and all that shit, right? And so that was crucial to that style of comedy came up. Now, why was that? Well, in the 80s, we had a big push, whatever. Excellent. Our dear friend Cliff Schechter is with us. Give me 1 second, and I will bring him in. But there was a real push for, in the 80s, if you'll recall, to all the you youngins, maybe you're not even aware, there was a, hold on, I'm bringing in Cliff in the moment. Where is this business? I've everything's all over the place in my images and whatnot. There we go. There was a big push for women's rights and gay rights and stuff in the late 80s that kind of percolated through the 90s and got very serious in the 90s. But it was a crucial aspect of culture at that point, and the reaction to it was Dice Clay. And everything's a fucking reboot with these guys. So let me bring in our dear friend Cliff Schechter. Hold on. I'm going to publish him out. There he is. Welcome, sir. How are you?
Dickory. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, right.
I remember when I was in high school, and I remember like that became the thing where all the boys are running around like, I can't believe he says that, and everybody was playing it. So I don't know what part of this conversation I'm coming in on, but I remember Dice Clay.
Yes, well, coming on the idea that I was watching some stuff with where I was saying goodbye to parts of Trump's brain, and part of it that is clearly going is
it's not just you.
No, is his ability to make up nicknames for people, which is pathetic now. It's like really lame. It's getting worse and worse, and he's basically just throwing on the beginning of every word, like he did with the unselect committee, right? And hoping that does the job. Now, most of his nicknames were either stolen or borrowed from somebody in his staff. They would help him come up with them, just like The Apprentice, right? He has writers and people around him. But and that's why he would road test them. Even MAGA, he wasn't sure about it back in the day because it wasn't his. And He pretends he came up with them. Same thing with fake news. Like Norm Macdonald used to introduce the news on SNL as the fake news. So it's been
Make America Great Again, even in and of itself, was Charles Lindbergh Nazis in 1940. So
exactly right. So, all that's been a myth. It's been a lie. But along with it was this idea that Trump is funny. He's very funny to these, to Rogan and his crowd. And the reason
he punches down, and they laugh at that. That's
and
funny.
He violates the public trust or the civic trust in areas where you're not supposed to do it.
Right.
Like the president's not supposed to say shit like that, and that's how he does it.
It makes it funny because it's so out of character for what we're used to that right away there's and you know that as a comic when depending on who is saying certain words is what makes them funny or doesn't make them. I mean, obviously, if it's a school principal, it comes a little bit differently than if it's somebody who's like in a porn film. I mean, I don't know. That's probably a bad comparison these days.
No, it's a great comparison. I think it's more like a real comedy club because a comedy club, to use the vernacular of our times, is a safe space for comedy. And so anybody who gets offended at a joke told in a comedy club, even if it's egregious, is an asshole. Leave. It is literally a space with comedy written on the description when you're coming in. So you have to take everything said that way. Yes, I do. Because
I actually let me say quickly, I fully agree with you. I've taken a lot of crap for that, but I fully agree with you. And again, there are a few really, really bad words out there that I would probably avoid. But for the most part, I've thought the whole time comedy is comedy, and it's part of actually what allows us to relate to each other and sometimes get past differences and whatever. And I've always felt that way.
Right.
So
Also, Michael Combs brings
again,
up
our
Ford
comedy,
Fairlane,
not the
which is the best use of Dice Clay's comedy. That movie is the best use of him. Like, he's an asshole with a heart, and that works. It's the same thing. It's basically Ace Ventura.
right.
It's the same thing. He's a
It's
sexist
it's
idiot.
very they're close
Right.
cousins, and of course
Very similar.
what's his name as the bad guy, that asshole. Oh, can I say? Yeah, I can say that. Or can I
Yeah.
not?
Wayne Newton.
I forget. I'm on. I was just on with Matt McNeil, and that's radio, and it's like
Yes, it's all right.
The asshole. What's his name from Vegas?
Right.
Not you. The come on, who's the bad guy in Ford Fairlane? Who's a bad guy
Wayne
in a
Newton.
Bond movie? Yes, thank you. I couldn't think of
Yes.
his name. I mean, he was great as a bad guy.
Yeah,
in that.
he was
I
terrific.
Yeah.
And who is it? The best acting Gilbert Gottfried's ever done. Even
Yes,
better than Beverly Hills
absolutely.
Cop 2.
Especially while I was being electrocuted. That was no,
Yeah,
but in all
absolutely.
seriousness, he had
Except
some
I'm a
good act-
DJ and you're just a dick.
and
Right.
you know what else?
right.
Yeah, you know what else was awesome in
Or
that?
you're-
Good Ohioan from Youngstown who actually tours the state whenever there's elections and gets up and speaks and is liberal as hell in real life. Ed O'Neill.
Ed O'Neill. Yeah, Ed O'Neill's fantastic in it. It's really well written. It's really well shot. It's a great. It looks good as a
Wow.
film.
I never thought I'd be talking with you about this on here because there are parts that are, yes, egregiously sexist, and these days there are people.
But
that get
here's
really
what they are. Here's the thing. They aren't, because they are done as a comedy. The character is supposed to be an asshole. This is why American cinema fucked up Mr. Bean. Mr.
I'm so
Bean
with you on this, Hal.
is not.
I really am.
Yeah, Mr. Bean is not mentally challenged and weak. Mr. Bean is an asshole. That's the point. The reason you can laugh at him is because he's a mean person. And half the time
with my family, we were just watching Love Actually, and he had only 2 parts in it. And in both of those parts, he was a complete. Yeah, I've watched the Mr. Bean stuff too, but he's a complete asshole, and that's.
Oh my God, Blackadder, and again, Blackadder. I don't know if you. This is the time of the year when everybody should see the Blackadder Christmas Carol, which is it inverts the storyline. He starts out as a really nice guy, and he's visited by 3 ghosts and realizes that everybody is using him and treating him like shit, and he becomes a prick at the end. It's exactly what comedy is supposed to do.
It's perfect.
Somebody said, Drywick Geek said Mr. Bean is supposedly an alien. The idea is that he's maybe an angel sent to test humanity, because if you'll hear it, there's he drops down in that kind of alien spotlight and appears on Earth kind of wholly formed in the opening. But there's also angelic choirs singing as if he's been sent by the Lord to test us all to see what the level of our charity is, right?
I see. I always wanted to do along those lines, a version of It's a Wonderful Life where all of the people say, "We're better with you dead."
You're right.
No, don't come back. Don't please. Like my life's great. Like his wife's doing terrific. She's happy. That's what I always wanted to do.
Yes, and it's effectively that's what the Christmas Carol, the Blackadder Christmas Carol is. But the essence of this, and this is kind of crucial, is that he used to be able to be a dick in a way that his followers liked, to the point where they're making compilation videos of him saying, "She said pussy, but you should never say pussy because you shouldn't ever use that phrase. I don't approve. That's wrong." Whatever. And everybody's like, "Oh shit." Right. And so all the responses to what he was doing was like, the president's not supposed to talk like that. But the problem is with most of us, we're like, no, he's not. We're allowed, but somebody's got to be a fucking adult in this situation. And if context actually does matter. And being,
thank you.
and it's hard for people like Louis C.K., for example, who would masturbate on the phone with employees and that kind of shit, to understand that context. Obviously, they have a contextual problem. And
again, there are things where when you're Mark Halperin and you come out with your pants down when you're an onanist, that's probably a bad thing. So
right.
I mean, no, I mean, in all seriousness, I so agree, and I don't know how you and I've never talked about this before, but I'm not saying 100% leeway. Like there can be places that but I would say 99.99999% leeway as far as I'm concerned with comedians, because I see people get offended by certain
Right.
comedians here and there, and the funny thing is most of them are liberal. They just make fun
Right.
of shit as they see it. Like they
Yes.
just make fun of stuff as they see it because that's what you do. And
And
I,
there's a crucial part of that. It's an excellent point you bring up because um, you have to give that space because like there was a book years ago written about why higher order animals, especially humans, develop comedy in the first place, and because we get entrenched, we get locked in, we get if people get in a social cul-de-sac, they get stuck in that cul-de-sac. And if you stand there and go, the fuck out of there, you guys are stupid, you went the wrong way, they go, fuck you, we're staying in the cul-de-sac then. Just as like it triggers this response, which is evolutionary. It's based on,
right.
wait a minute, we're being yelled at to do this. Maybe we're being ordered to our death, which happened a lot, right? Follow me,
I
go
think
to
it's
this
also
line.
part of our, again, people forget this is, and this so well
Mm-hmm.
ties into something why I lose my mind with Democrats when they campaign with charts and numbers and
Right.
PowerPoint, and when I just say we evolved as a species around campfires telling stories.
Yeah.
And that is why our brains are wired in certain ways. Yes, you need numbers in there. You want to say this number of people were harmed by this. Now let me introduce you to so and so and hear individual stories, see images of those stories, all of that, and that's where
Right.
comedy comes in too. Comedy is a way of telling stories. I
Yes.
mean, they're funny, and they're and they're not the serious kind, but yeah, it's a way of like sharing stories with each
That's
other.
right. And it addresses grievances in a socially acceptable way, even if it pushes to the edge of being socially unacceptable, because it does not cross into legislation or acts of physical violence. And so there's this,
Yeah,
the
it's
power
an
of a
outlet in a way that's
right.
useful.
This started almost with this idea that I'm the guy who cries on the internet because of all the stuff I've covered over the last little bit. But of course, I have no I worry about that because my masculinity is sound, and I don't worry about it and have to protect it like it's a fucking Fabergé egg, like Glenn Beck or some of these other pussies. So I can actually
Are you
stand
bringing that
up
up
for
because of that story like a week or two ago that was in New Zealand where the guy tried to commit a robbery because he had seen the James Bond movie and he ate a Fabergé egg while we're doing comedy? This is actually serious. And he was arrested for 6 days, and they're actually police whose job it was to sit there and watch him as he shat because they had to make sure when it came out.
Yep.
I don't know if it's less valuable at that point. I would give it a good steam cleaning, but
Yeah.
they had this. This thing was worth, I think, $19,000 or something, maybe
Right.
more. Whatever the hell. I'm probably getting that wrong.
Right.
But point is, he had round the clock police for 6 days. So good choice
The
of
weird part
Fabergé
is
egg.
he had to sit on it till it hatched, I heard. So,
Yeah,
that was the
there you
hard part,
go.
right?
Now they call them
We need
chickens.
the eggs, Your Honor.
Right. Well, I
Right.
mean, so I got to ask, just because I'm sorry I'm late. Things happen. Kids get the
Yeah.
flu. What got you speaking about Dice Clay and comedy in general? Was there a
Well,
specific
this
thing?
idea of Trump, I was watching like Rogan and all these other guys kind of doing this retrospective of Trump's greatest hits and how funny he is, or how they talk about him as he's funny. And in reality, it got me thinking about what has become, because of the societal divide that really kind of existed for a while, was the people with a stick up their ass versus the people with no stick up their ass, is the idea. And that's
And yet they
usually
stick up their asses are the ones that love Trump.
right. Well, that's the funny part. It was that both groups had a stick up their ass, and yet it was just a different stick. And so you can't make fun of Trump because they get really offended. They get as offended about jokes about Trump's mental decline, him being a pedophile, all this kind of shit. They get
His mushroom
as,
penis.
Yes, yeah, his mushroom dick, his orange face, his odd, redneck prom queen makeup where he never hits his ear, all
His
that shit. They get,
cankles that actually have cankles on them that are growing
yeah,
cankles.
yeah, exactly. Captain Cankle, whatever you call him. Like they get as upset about that as we get upset about them dissing trans kids or making fun of gay people or women or whatever, like stuff that we're trying to expand the social dome to include everybody, and in that process, they're trying to shut it down. And they
Right.
and their
And that's
fallback
why,
has
as
been
J.D. Vance said, you can be proudly white again, because obviously for a long period of time, I was unaware of this, but for a long period of time you couldn't be proudly white.
oh
You had to walk around and be
for the
like,
record, no, for the record, I'm aware of that. That is a thing, and that would be
no,
what in
but
the realm.
not in
Yeah,
the way J.D. Vance said it. I know which
no,
way
of
you're
course not.
saying it. I know which way you're
JD
saying it.
Vance has another thing he's hiding.
I've dealt with that bullshit too, and I know what you're talking about, but that's not
yes,
JD Vance. JD
right.
Vance is trying to go in the uber white direction because he realizes that anybody gets a family photo of him together with Usha, the kids, and her family, and
Yeah.
suddenly the Halloween mask gets pulled off. It's like, oh, you're not really the white guy, the white supremacist you pretend to be,
Right.
which he knows is a killer if he wants to be president. There's no
Yeah.
way. It's only at what point he marries Erica Kirk, just because there's literally no way that base will support him with his wife and his kids. There's no way.
No, not at all. And that's,
we're already seeing it. Like, I think Elise Stefanik in New York dropped out. I think some of it's maybe because she's a woman. I think, like Vivek Ramaswamy is running here. He's already had people stand up at some of his town halls and said to him, "How can I vote for you? You're not white."
Yeah.
They created this monster. Fuck them. Let them live with
exactly. Let them stew in their own juice. Exactly. But I would argue that that's why we get offended at what they're saying. It's not that. And again, I don't get offended ever. If somebody insults me, that's one thing. And if you insult my friend while my friend is next to me, I have a job to do at that point. Is all I'm going to say. But there's a difference between you like just being generally attempting to be offensive, because if you get offended, it gives them, especially in the troll, world that we live in, and Trump, is many ways the first troll president. This is his whole fucking gig, right?
I would say completely. I don't think we've ever.
Yes, it is the easiest thing though to disarm. Simply dismiss it, and that's what I think it's hard for people to do, because if you take him seriously, that's what he wants, and he wants you upset. So the outrage machine is the currency. Outrage is the currency.
It is. So so the thing is, and I'll admit it, like there are times, I mean, what I get outraged by is obviously harm happening to innocent people. A kid being, pulled out of a car because they're brown and hogtied by this group of fucking thugs with masks on. Yeah, that gets me mad. But when it comes to the other stuff, like I mean, again, and I know this isn't easy for people that aren't sort of in the public eye as much as you and I are. I don't say I'm in the public eye a ton, but enough that like you can't insult me. Like I enjoy it. Like people will come after me on some of these places and I'll just join in, especially if they think they're going to say something that's going to offend. I love when they when the right thinks they've got you and they start questioning your masculinity. She said, they're like, you're gay. I'm like, I am. It's true. You're kind of hot.
Right.
And like, I mean, I just keep going with it. And eventually there's no place for them to go. Because they can't offend me.
If you're secure in it, you can be unmoved, right? And in that you keep your wits about you, so that you can return fire in terms of jokage. If you get put on your heels every time somebody says something like this, and this is sort of my message to the people who get offended crowd, is that please get a hold of that. Let it practice the art of letting go. Because
I think this is such an important show you're doing in the end, because this has been, I think, very detrimental to the left.
I agree.
Is the offended by every little thing. And no, it's not to equate it. The right has this fake, thing where they equate cancel culture to whatever. One side has elected a fascist president. The other side maybe has a little too much power at universities. Different stories. Okay. But again, like, getting offended so easily,
right?
Like all this sort of safe space stuff, all this whatever. I get it that there are certain things that are traumatic for people, and yes, that's different. But otherwise, like, you can call me whatever the hell you want. Go for it, like, and it's part of the thing.
It's,
exactly. I've never understood that.
The key to this, though, and I want to like clarify this to folks or whatever, is that. What is the purpose of getting offended or pushing back on something like this? The purpose is letting that person know that behavior is unwelcome, inappropriate, gross, whatever your issue is with it. So the response has to be in a language that person understands. If you yell at them about it, the language they understand, their language is, I'm winning. If you're upset, you hear this shit all the time. If everybody's upset, you must be doing something right. I'm like, you sound like Ted Bundy.
We have a similar, saying in politics. It's just funny, and it's if you're explaining, you're losing. So if you're sitting there and you're trying to say, how dare you say that, and blah blah blah, you're losing. What you do is you fire back in something that is going to get to them, and that's the way I've always. I mean, for me, I don't care if it's social media. That's the way I always debated on MSNBC. That's the way I ignore whatever the hell you say about me. You could say, or Democrats, like you literally say anything. And I'm ready with what I'm going to call you and call your party and call your president, whatever. Won't change no matter what you say.
Yeah. And I would argue that your response, the important thing though, is your response has to be in a language they understand. And if the currency is outrage, then you are helping them. Not only are you helping them further the impact of the joke that they're telling that you don't like or you don't want told or whatever, but you are telling their audience they're better at it than they think they think they are.
It's the message. This is the thing with democratic messaging too, and this ties into that also, which is why I always maybe I'll do a master class or something. I spent so many years on this stuff, and I just don't get how people still don't get it. The best thing you can do to them is to mock them.
Yes.
So if they come at you and you respond, and when I say you respond by tearing the shit out of them, like you tear the shit out of them in a way that you're laughing the whole time.
Right.
And then you're insulting them, but you're also laughing and finding them funny and mocking them. And like,
it is a moral, yes, it is a moral imperative that you not take them seriously at the moment they want to be taken seriously. And that is exactly that whole like stick up their ass, like versus the people without the stick up their ass divide that comedy is largely based on. And even when it is acted out, Mr. Bean is about a guy with his own predilections in life and his own superiority issues, making fun of everyone who has a stick up their ass. He moves around and he upsets the apple cart everywhere he goes. You could look at Clouseau. He's an amazing character he's the one with the stick up his ass. He's actually the guy who thinks very grandiose ideas of himself, but it's very rigid in his greatness in his own mind has to be based on 4 traits. And he is constantly violating those traits as a great detective, as a good-looking man, as a ladies' man, and is very clever linguistically. And so while he fucks up all those things, and physically, I guess, clumsy as well, so 5.
The clumsiness is pretty hilarious. I used to watch it with my dad. So it's such good memories of that with my dad.
Holy shit! In A Shot in the Dark, which is the first one, is based on a play called L'Idiot, which is what the restaurant named in L.A. Story is named after in the Steve Martin movie. He calls it L'Idiot after that play. There's that scene where he's explaining how things would work, and he's got a stick and he's got a chart or whatever, and he whacks it and he breaks it off of his assistant and he goes, "Look what you've done, fool! You've broken my pointing stick. Nothing to point with now." Like that part of it where he's always blaming someone else. That's him with a stick up his ass.
Hilarious.
So goddamn good.
Everything. Murder by Death. We used to watch that one all the time. The ones I used to. My dad. Like such fond memories of those movies growing up.
John Cleese's almost all of his greatest characters are based on being hyper rigid.
Yes.
Right?
Oh my God, think about like even in you think about the Monty Python stuff, but I'm thinking just offhand think about him in A Fish Called Wanda, the uptight lawyer, and Kevin Kline is just the perfect foil. Because he gets to do that,
and because he fucks with all the rules.
So superior,
right.
Don't
I used to box for Oxford. I used to kill for the CIA, right? That's the reason that works is because it's a violation of the public trust, of the civic trust. And by violating that, you get a joke. And again, this is what would be verbal pratfalls. Tony Hinchcliffe, most of what Joe Rogan passes off as stand-up these days, which absolutely sucks.
Joe Rogan still do stand up?
He just did a special a bit ago, and the only thing special
I don't
about it
even
was
know.
the
And
fact
again,
that I guess he
I
bought his
just
way
don't.
onto Netflix.
I just don't. I mean, again, like I am not one of those people, and this will be being it too, who gets easily offended by stupid shit he says. I mean, I think when
Right.
he starts going into disinformation is when I get
Yeah.
angry because it harms people. When he's like, "Oh, vaccines," but when he just makes dumbass jokes, I don't find them particularly funny, and
Right.
I don't find them interesting. But if I were advising any Democratic candidate, or anybody, I'd say absolutely go on his show. He's got a
Yep.
huge audience.
Absolutely.
You go on,
And
entertain
make
me.
fun of him.
You
To
go on and be cooler than he is to his
what a
audience.
great example. Do you ever see Bill Burr on there?
Oh my
Bill,
God, yes.
Bill Burr is another
so good
example.
at this shit.
He's so great at it because he doesn't believe in the authority. He's an anti-authoritarian in everything he says, even
And
when
he
it's
doesn't
like
defer to whoever the host is. So he
right.
went on Bill Maher and he made Bill Maher look like an idiot too.
Yeah, and well, he pointed out that Bill Maher acts like an idiot about these things, or is idiotic in his belief about his own knowledge and whatever. He's an and
I love Bill Burr. Yeah,
it's pedestal. It's flicking people off the pedestal that have not earned the right to be on the pedestal. That's a key aspect of this.
Again, you can make jokes about stuff, but because Bill Maher's show became more than just jokes, it became it's about politics too.
Right.
When you start passing yourself off as an expert on shit you are not an expert on, which is what cable news does all the time, which is why I fucking hate it. Because people, again, like they will fall for it. If you go and you claim you're some expert on vaccines, or you're some expert on bombing Venezuela, or you're some expert on, unless you have an advanced degree or have worked in government or the private sector in that exact area or whatever, you are not an expert. You're just some other fucking person who has maybe some knowledge of it.
Right, which is fine if you operate in those circles, and you also have to be willing to let people kick the tires on what you're talking about. And if you're not, then that also makes you as phony as anybody on CNN, you would say. Right?
Yeah, well, and that's why vaccines are an example, right? So when I talk about them, I always say, yes, a very small percentage of people are harmed by them, and probably a few people even die from them. And then it sucks. It is the nature of those things. And then you compare that to what happens to all the people that don't get vaccines. And it's like it's like this percent of the people that do 1/1000th of 1/1,000,000th of 1%, or I'm being ridiculous, but some infinitesimal number get hurt by them versus if you don't get it, where you had whatever it was, a 7 or 8% death rate from COVID, or 10%, another 10% or 20%, had anything from long COVID to serious heart effects to whatever. And it's like, really hard to compare these two. I mean, there's rarely something that is perfect, that has no chance of harming you at all, but you compare relative harms. And it's pretty easy. So I don't have to lie about vaccines and say, oh, they're perfect, they never harm you. I just need to tell you the fucking truth, which is you've got two options. One of them is a fucking billion times more likely to help you. Take that option.
Yeah. And the other one, too, is like, it's a situation. We see, Tara, you're good. I'll bring you in just a minute. But the gray areas in life, which turn out just to be eggshell in their case. It's not pure white. It's just slightly off-white because there's a statistical anomaly in everything, which, by the way, fits into the legalese of almost everything you will ever see. I mean, just look at any pharmaceutical ad or whatever. There's a reason why they have to tell you all the possible stuff, even though it may never happen to you. It doesn't even happen in a plurality. Right. It's horrifying. I'd rather have eczema.
That's how Happy Fun Ball was created.
That's right. That's right.
Just by reading the end of those ads,
So a couple of things, like we raced into that, and I know I only had you have for the half hour, but it raced by. So I'd love to
next week or
I would love to further this conversation, because I think it is crucial to how people say it. Somebody in the chat room said anyone who's a fan of Bill Burr is racist. Bill Burr's wife is black. His children are mixed. Every person on the every person on the Chappelle show, every black cast member, every black writer, every Jewish writer, and every woman writer on that show is a fan of Bill Burr's. And Bill Burr is not a racist. Bill Burr questions the authoritarian languaging we have in society, as most comedians do.
With the lack of messaging on our side, Bill Burr ends up being one of our best messengers, going up against some of these people and just taking
Right.
them the fuck
The
apart.
irony. Right.
I mean,
So
he's not again. He's married. Like, it's not like one of these things. Oh, all my best friends are black. He is married to somebody who is black. He all the time makes it clear he's not right. Again, this is more of
right.
this shit where like you say one little thing once and it's like that's it, you're done.
That's the
And it's like,
defining aspect of it.
no,
And also, by
folks.
the way, the definition of what they're saying is in the context of a bunch of other stuff, which is key to their
Yes.
conversation. And a lot of times, I talk about in journalism all the time, the yeah, but, the third paragraph, which is crucial to the actual story. It's the thing that either undermines or reaffirms reality in their thing. Like they've got a new reality they're explaining, but it may never happen, is the third one,
Right.
period. Or this new thing is the greatest thing ever. It might suck, is the third paragraph every single time. Every comedian does a yeah, but in a longer bit, because you have to establish that I understand reality, I'm not stupid to it, but here's what I think, because everybody believes this, and we all know it's not true, or we all act like it's true, right? That's the theory. And so
Right.
a lot of comedy is based on that idea, whether it's a one-liner bait and switch or a bigger, story told, right? And
Yeah.
and so the key to it is establishing those things. And every comedian will say something if they're worth their stuff. Versus a comic, by the way, there's a distinction. Comedians will give that yeah, but as part of it. And if you snip that part out, that will be the worst part of their argument, either for or against. Right?
I will say this right now. What I would love to do, because I know Tara needs to come on here or whatever, but especially because I thought there was a period of time I got out of grad school and I was either going to go and write speeches in Washington or go write comedy in LA.
Right.
I sometimes think I made the wrong decision, but luckily
there's always time. That's the great thing about comedy is it never goes away. Right.
No, but that's the beauty of it is luckily down the road I got to create a situation and have a big enough Substack and all that where all the shows are infused with comedy. All of my columns are, if people know, I write in a gonzo style that has jokes throughout. And I'm able to combine both of those. I get to show up and perform like with you guys at Sexy Liberal. And so in a way, I got around to it eventually. And so what I'm saying is, because I'm such a lover of that art form, is that, and try to employ it, is that I think you and I at some point should come up with a series of conversations about this where we have got more time and we can focus just on this. And, maybe we do something like that. It's like the kind of like series that you do on Substack or whatever.
As a lifelong, yes, I totally agree. I would love to break any of that stuff down with you. There's a myriad of things to cover, not the least of which is Carlin is deified on our side of the aisle by and large.
Yes, and if you go back and listen to a lot of the shit he said, you like people today would be so offended, would be so. I mean, he uses the N-word back then.
Go watch the word. Go watch him do the bit feminist blowjob or whatever, or talk people out of voting.
That's where he's going off on like manhole covers because he's telling people about language and admitting it is important that we use that. We have congressperson, not just congressmen. But he's like, some people could take this to a ridiculous place, like manhole cover. Right, and that's where the blowjob joke comes in.
That's right. So the key to this, there's a couple of areas where, and we'll talk about this next time. I'm going to tee up the next time you and I get to talk. One is,
you can see I'm a fan of the comedy. I love it.
Yes,
I fucking
the
love
civil war going on in the uptight world of right wing talk is getting ever more egregious. Between the Charlie Kirk murder and Erica Kirk and Ben Shapiro and Tucker Carlson and Candace Owens, and that's not going to end anytime soon because this is this is vile back and forth between them. Meanwhile,
I try to explain to people like this, and I'll be quick. I know, but it's very simple. When I explained to my kids once, they were, they're younger, and they're like, "Why are those two guys attacking each other?" Who are both evil. And I'm like, well, let me explain this to you. You see, when we watch Star Wars, the Siths, I'm like, the reason why Siths always turn on each other is because if you're evil, you don't just hate people that are good, you hate everybody. Right. So you're out for yourself. So eventually the guy next to you, or gal next to you, if they're a Sith and they're no longer useful, you're done with them. And it's the same thing
That's
with people like Candace
that's
Owens.
no better example than watching
personality disorder. They're
yeah, no
always
better
turn on
example than watching the Kill Tony cast eat each other all the time, because
Yeah.
you can't turn that off. Being shitty
Right.
is a 24-hour a day job for these guys, and they
Right.
you know
Shitty people
and,
don't like see other shitty people and say, "Oh, I like them." Shitty
yeah,
people see everybody and they're misanthropes and they hate everybody. So
right. They
eventually
project
they're
that
going to turn on each
shittiness.
other.
And that brings us back to Trump. Okay, so thank you so much, Cliff. I want everybody to check out Blue Amp on Substack. Subscribe to that.
Lamp.co.
Yep.
Join me. Tomorrow we've got Katie Fang will be on our
Oh,
live at
nice.
2:00. So that should be
Fantastic.
fun. And the only other thing I wanted to say is I apologize. I jumped in a lot and I apologize. We had only a half hour and I've been so wanting to talk about this topic with someone.
Yes.
So you just like
we will set it.
Perfect.
We'll talk about like comedy in the age of stick up the ass. We'll talk about that in a bit, in a way to reclaim the whole like bullshit about political correctness back from those guys and turn it into an appreciation of art and open conversation.
Yes.
And that diversity doesn't mean just finding somebody of a different color who sounds just like you. It's bigger than that.
That's actually the definition of what Republicans do. They're like,
yes,
where can we find someone who is black, Jewish, whatever, who's exactly like us?
Right. Yeah,
that's
the Byron Donalds impact, whatever statement. Right. Yeah, appreciate that. All right. I appreciate you, Cliff Schechter. Thank you for coming on, brother. And we will see you very soon. Absolutely. Okay, cheers. There he goes, ladies and gentlemen. Give me 1 second. I'll bring in our dear friend, Tara Dublin, who does indeed rock, who's been waiting in the wings very patiently during this. And it's been a while since I've had a chance to talk to her. So this is a good opportunity for us to hop in here. Hold on 1 second. I just got to do a little bit of housekeeping, as you do with the digitals and the things with the digitals and the whatnot. 1 second. There we go. Switch the camera to Dara. There we go. And then I'll rewrite the moniker on there so we can. Whoops. Whoops. Why is that stuck there? Hold on. I see. Edit. There we go. Okay. I will hide that. And we'll go publish. And there she is, ladies and gentlemen, Tara Dublin, who does indeed rock.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. I started out this conversation with sort of a sideline joke that triggered an entire conversation that I thought was completely necessary.
Okay. What was the sideline joke?
Well, that everybody's doing these in memoriam things, and I can't watch the Rob Reiner things. I loved him too much, and I don't need to see it.
I cannot. I can't.
Yeah. So, but I feel like we need to have an in memoriam for all the Republicans that are stepping down or leaving office or have been kicked to the curb in the last year, because that's a big fucking list, and it's getting bigger all the time.
It's not big enough. It's not big enough for me.
That's up to us. That's up to us and our lazy voter pack that's like, we deserve to have the greatest systems ever. Well, are you going to show up and vote for them more than one election in a row? Not really. Well, then I guess we don't deserve it, asshole. Maybe we haven't earned it yet. That'd be a good idea.
Sure. We don't have a defining message. Oh, okay. Well, let's work on one. We don't have a defining leader. Let's find one super fast, shall we?
Mm-hmm.
You and I have talked about this before. And by the way, I'd like to apologize for the hoarseness of my voice, because I had 3 nights in a row of sold out low bar corral, snow bar corral shows where we were singing at the tops of our lungs for 3 nights in a row. And
I got to teach you a technique.
Recovering. Yes. My friend Ruby Friedman, who's an amazing singer, is also a voice teacher. And when I can afford voice lessons, I will go take voice lessons from her. However, so in any case, I am, as always, frustrated by certain things, particularly, the truth not getting out at the rate it should and in the way that it should. And I forget what prompted me to say that, because I went to the sidebar of Low Bar Corral. And then once I go there, I forget what I was angry about, because it makes me happy.
Well, I get that. There's a couple things. Yeah.
Here it is. You want a defining message. Our defining messages make everything that Trump does stick to Republicans. And the Republicans who are leaving in droves before the midterms can actually happen are sending a huge message saying we can't win because Trump is going to kill us all. And that's basically the message. It's like they know they can't win, and that's why they're dropping out. You think Marjorie is doing this for altruistic reasons or for the good of the country? No. She's getting her pension, and her last act in Congress is hurting trans kids. Great legacy, Marge. Thanks so much. Thank you for fucking nothing. Just because she wanted the Epstein files released, that doesn't make her a good person. Just because Thomas Massie is working on the Epstein files release, that doesn't make him a good person either, because he's a J6 denier person. So I'm frustrated by a lot of things, but one of the things Democrats absolutely need to do starting ASAP is going back to what I've been saying all year. If we're doing in memoriam for all of my fantastic ideas that have yet to be implemented, like a daily Democratic press briefing led by a dedicated Democratic press secretary. We should have had that from the start, because we had to know from the beginning there would be daily lies that needed to be combated. And my biggest fear, which I've also said repeatedly on this show, even before he was falsely inaugurated, was their ability to control the flow of information and choke it and bend it so that it makes them look good and us look bad. And Barry Weiss is proving that for them by killing the stories on 60 Minutes that matter. And we can delve into that in a minute. But for me, it's being able to find a way to get our message out to the masses in a way that can't be choked off by the right-wing media. So what happened over the last decade, the media allowed the slow boil of Trump to take over. And when you and Cliff were talking earlier about all of that stuff, it's the attacking of the messengers is what happened, rather than making Trump stay on message, rather than holding Republicans accountable for what Trump was doing. They all became a party and a cult of bullies. And all they cared about was owning the libs, even to their own detriment. And that is where we are right now with this Epstein files mishigas, which is, well, we gave you the Epstein files and it's all Bill Clinton. Why aren't you doing anything? It's not all Bill Clinton. It's all blacked out shit protecting Trump. Right. And you know it, and we know it. So fucking say that over and over.
Well, I will say in what I've seen in the follow-up that seems to be the case even amongst right-wingers. Right-wingers are like, Bill Clinton hasn't been president for, over 25 years now. And so, yes, awful, but whatever, in that regard. And I think the rest of us are like, if he was engaged in any of that shit, he can go pound sand. I don't care. I have no issue about it. But Trump deserves the same level of scrutiny. Well, the issue is on the right. That's exactly where they are right now. In so many areas, they're trying to run from this. They're trying to hide from this. But there's been a chain of events that has dislodged MAGA from Trump in a way that I don't think he's really aware of yet. And it started really with their kind of hesitancy about the binders. When the binders were handed out by Pam Bondi, that was a shot across the bow that you're about to be like it's going to be an artillery barrage of bullshit from this point forward. And then when that memo came out, since the memo, that's when Trump's numbers, if you track his poll numbers, that's when it's gone down. He's had a couple of bumps up and down when they like who he's bombing or like who he's running out of the country. But for the most part, it's been cratering, not because there's been some magic like, Barry Weiss has been able to stem the bleeding on this story or something like that. Or because, the left has decided we don't like him after all. It's not that at all. It's been maggots, by and large, are heading for the hills. They're rats leaving a sinking ship. And there's some dieharders that get interviewed, and there's this idea that there's this, segment of them that will hold on forever. But the reality is those are the people who believe that they think open borders are the biggest thing they have to fear, or that phrase scares them enough to excuse everything else. Well, the problem is there is no way a Democrat, for example, is going to go back to some sort of version of open borders at this point. Like politically, it's like 80% of the public is like, yes, we need a managed border. Stop listening to your fringe, right or left. We don't need everybody coming into the country, from a point of view of a bunch of like hyper lefties who think we should allow everyone in because this country is horribly racist. And like, why would you let a bunch of people into a country you think is racist if you're trying, like, what are you trying to torture them? And on the far right, it's like, we need cheap workers, let them slide in and Trump's ag buddies will give them the benefit of the doubt, or it'll be the honor system from the farmers and they can just work under the table and we'll just pretend it's not happening. Those fringes owned the conversation for the last 15, 20 years. That's over now. And by and large, most voters know this. And it won't be hard for a Democrat to make a balanced argument going forward. And I think Newsom, as a border state governor, will be able to do that. I think Mark Kelly will also be able to make a good argument about it. And so that'll set the tone for how everybody else talks about it. The issue that we have, and this is kind of what I brought up with Cliff, was we were more offended by Bill Burr than Bill Barr. We were more affected by Joe Rogan than Matt Gaetz. We were more offended by what Trump said than what he signed. And that's got to be the difference, because social movements are our business. Political movements are a national business. We need votes. I don't give a rat fuck how on board you are with the best version of a plan. If it's the only thing that's we can vote on that will actually happen, there is no reason for not being on board with it at all. Red district purple, purple district blue. Purple. That's it.
I've been repeating that all year. I've been repeating that from you and giving you the credit, but obviously that is a huge part of it. But also a huge part of it is making all of the Epstein shit stick to every single Republican running in 2026.
Absolutely.
Every Republican is Trump. Bottom line, I don't care who you are. I don't care if you have spoken out against him. I don't care if you have you've offered something that maybe resembles something that liberals care about. If you are still loyal to Trump, if you are still fine with him being the leader of your party, I'm going to make everything he's ever done stick to you. In 2026. There it is. There's our defining message. Trump is the anchor dragging you all down. And I was listening to, the whole Erica Kirk and JD Vance are totally fucking. They are totally fucking. I don't want to imagine it. I don't want to think about it, but it's so fucking obvious, because there's this new thing that, he's standing up at TPOSA saying you no longer have to apologize for being white. That is a new trend that has been happening, by the way, on the Bird app. Is your For You feeds are being flooded with these. A lot of them look like AI, big boobed. Like they all look like their names are Boobs McMaga, and they're all blonde, wearing the red hat with their boobs up, going, "I'm proud to be white. I'm not going to apologize for being white." Who's fucking making you? And by the way, who's persecuting Christians? Okay. John Fugelsang will tell you nobody.
Wait, pause. I brought this up with Cliff. No, I brought this up with Cliff as well, because again, on the one hand, we're being dragged onto their battlefield with this bullshit.
Right.
And the Sweeney thing was the first swing at this. And everybody took the fucking bait. If that ad was running yes, well, you know what I'm talking about, though. Everybody jumped on her back and went, "Oh, jeans, white people are better, blah, blah, blah." And if that ad had been run in 1977, which is what it was a throwback ad to 1978. If that had been run then, nobody would have given it a second thought. It was just a jeans ad, and you're talking about a woman who it's the new Kelly LeBrock "Don't Hate Me Because I'm Beautiful" ad. That's what it was.
Or the Calvin Klein "Nothing Comes Between Me and My Calvin."
Exactly. And what everybody jumped in was that this will be defined on racial terms. And what that does is that allows, ladies and gentlemen, racists to say, "See, we're the racism is equal on both sides. Therefore, we need segregation again. Therefore, whites only communities." Therefore, I'm telling you, they set it up and run with it. And every time we take this fucking bait, look, there is clearly, especially on Shitter, it's not in real life, but it's on all social medias. There's an active group, both real and Russian, saying, that white people are to blame for everything throughout history, and they're the most evil race in the world. And P.S. that's because Jews are white now. And I'm not kidding.
I know.
It's a serious problem. And the problem we have is not addressing it. It's the fact that we get baited into addressing it. And that's what feeds that argument. That's what feeds that, because they're like, oh, I must have touched a nerve. Remember, because like a lot of these folks, it's, I'm upsetting people. I must have said something right. Whether it is or not is immaterial. That's their argument. And what happens is that causes it to blossom. But if you're like, please, and then you move on to the real conversation, because we're so much more worried about what somebody says than what they sign. And we have to focus as political animals when we're talking about voting and political action, things that will change people's lives for real. What gets signed, not what gets said. Because the same thing can, the cruelty of Trump's language is written into what he signs, and I would argue worse. But our focus on what he says makes what he signs look tepid by comparison because of the outrage disconnect.
Well, they're the ones that are claiming we're outraged when we're actually not outraged about what they say that we're outraged about, because that's part of the distraction tactics, which is what I mean.
Transgender for everyone isn't a thing?
Just, like all of their bullshit messaging, every single bit of it. Christians are being persecuted is another defining message at TPUSA this weekend, along with you don't have to apologize. All of it's a distraction from Epstein. All of it is a distraction from Trump's criming. All of it is a distraction from what they're doing with Project 2025. It's the ignore what they say, watch what they do, which we always do. We do. You and I do. Your audience does. People who are paying attention in the right way do. They think they're duping Democrats when they're not. And, for me personally, I'm not mad. I'm not jealous. I'm not triggered. Like I don't buy into it. They can't hurt my feelings. Taylor Swift has provided us with an evergreen response to all of our trolls, because what they do is they attack the messenger rather than talk about the issue. So guess what, MAGA? It doesn't matter what I look like, and it doesn't matter how old I am, and it doesn't matter how many cats I have, which is just 2, and it doesn't matter where I live. None of that is relevant to what Trump has done. It doesn't make Trump any less of a pedophile rapist, right? So when you attack the messenger, that is part of the distraction that I am not falling for, that I encourage other people to not fall for either, which is the best of what we can do while we're telling the truth is giving people the tools to fight back in their own way. Now you can just block it, which is always the right way, block that messaging. If it's a sitting member of Congress pushing that messaging, if it's Scott Jennings sitting on CNN pushing that messaging, that is when you can fight back with truth, because at least it is there, right? So that's my approach, always living where the truth does, even because here's the thing about the truth that we have learned. MAGA hates the truth. They hate the truth about Trump, and I think they all know what it is, but you can't be wrong on the internet. That's bad. And you can't admit that you were duped by a con man, also bad. So the thing that has happened over the last decade that the media has abetted, obviously, and now they can control the flow of information, the flow of truth, is that people have just become terrified of being wrong. Being wrong on the internet has become somehow the worst thing. And if you're wrong, it's so wrong. And you just can't admit you were wrong. The truth is the truth regardless of who likes it. And the truth almost always is something someone's not going to like. It's going to be ugly. It's going to be dirty. It's going to be messy. It's going to disappoint you. It's going to hurt you some way. It's going to make you question your entire belief system. It's going to make you think back to where else was I duped? Where else was I tricked? How could have this happened to me? It's a personal affront. And that's this group think of we can't be wrong. That cult mentality. I can be wrong a million times a day and admit it. I'm not going to get struck by lightning, and neither are you. And so for me, I don't care what the truth is or who it's about. And we've waited for this Bill Clinton bomb to drop. Where is it? We saw a picture of him in a pool. Turns out it wasn't even on Epstein's Island. It was in a hotel somewhere. That's a private something somewhere else. Everything they put out and deleted. The picture of Diana Ross and Michael Jackson. that they try to sneak in there? Fuck you. I mean, come
Right.
on, stop it. Because that is insinuating, well, Michael Jackson was accused of raping little boys.
Well,
So
again,
put him
this
in
would
the
be,
Epstein
so
file.
that's the point
This
about
is
like
back, right?
focus
So it
to me.
has to be
I
the
think
truth.
our primary, yes, I think our primary focus in this particular instance is that I am thoroughly convinced that every blacked out image in the files contained Donald Trump and a child until proven otherwise.
Yes. There was
Until
one of him on the
explained-
plane.
Yep.
He's on the plane with a blackout square, and it's a blonde girl. And I was like, it's Ivanka. It's Ivanka. I saw an unredacted picture, and it's not Ivanka. And even if it was Ivanka, that's really not a great counter argument to make that he's not a pedophile when he went on The View and said he wanted to date his own daughter.
Right.
When he talked about how hot her body was on Howard Stern. When he said that the thing that he had in common the most with his own daughter was sex. Okay? He's fucking disgusting. He also has temporal frontal lobe dementia, which I know you talked about with Dr. Adam a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
He's my favorite follow on Instagram, by the way. Every single day, there's new evidence that Donnie dementia is sundowning hard. And that is the other truth that we need to live in and stick that to every Republican running in 2026. Really? Really? You're okay with sundowning Paw standing up there talking about, I know what a giraffe looks like. Aren't you proud? You're so,
the bumpy horse.
proud.
Right. Bumpy horse.
He's a cotton-headed ninny muggins. So, you know.
So,
like,
okay.
again,
So one of the
truth.
things let's see if I can bring up real quick because I have I had to make a PDF of this because I was worried that they would take down the actual video or the article itself. Is this guy right here. This is one of the most crucial parts of the entire Epstein stuff as far as I'm concerned so far. And that is, if I may, switch this over, this guy right here.
Right.
Remembering the time Jeffrey Epstein rode on Donald Trump's plane. So in the year 2000, Trump, this is the story. And by the way, the idea that this was the only time is fucking ridiculous. The argument I would make is that Epstein flew on Trump's plane way more than the other way around. That it was far more common for him to hitch a ride on Trump's plane when they hung out than to use his own plane because he was good at manipulating people. And why spend the gas himself if he could just catch a ride with Trump, who went down there all the time? So
right. And also their friendship wasn't really a friendship, but more of a competition. So Trump could say, well, my plane's bigger. You know, like it would be like that. Let's take my plane.
Well, that's okay. So this is, I'm going to shrink this down so we can see it a little bit better as far as text goes.
Is this the one with the little girl and the real estate agent thought it was his niece? Right.
No, it was a article it was for Maximum Golf magazine, which just sounds so fucking douchey.
I know.
It's like it's the douchiest title ever. That's almost a funny. That's like. It's like you talk about like the MAGA titty women, with a golf club on the cover. Like it's the only golf magazine with a centerfold, basically, is what it sounds like.
Right, and like twin lesbians in a massive photo shoot or something like that. Because
right. So here's the scene was described by reporter Michael Corcoran in a profile of Trump published in Maximum Golf magazine, which is, by the way, expunged. I can't find the copy of it right now. Anyway, I'm sure it exists somewhere, but it's
burned them all.
Right. Wearing his trademark dark blue bespoke suit and white shirt, which again, he buys these fucking tents off the rack. Get the fucking bespoke.
Are you kidding me? Get out of here. It's a Brioni cheap ass suit.
Trump paces the aisle of his plane, tugging at his tie like an accountant at 11:30 p.m. on April 15th, which again is a crucial date. We should keep track of that, see if that ever shows up in the Epstein files, as far as where Epstein was on a particular date. In the year 2000, April 15th, they were both on a plane together. Never be late for someone else's plane, Trump says, his facial expression showing a mixture of annoyance and bemusement. The offending party is stuck in Friday rush hour traffic. Come on, Jeffrey, where are you? Trump says. He's talking about Jeffrey Epstein, another wealthy and well-known man who is traveling with Ghislaine Maxwell the daughter of the late media baron Robert Maxwell. The couple finally arrives, Epstein wearing an orange sweatshirt and jeans, and Maxwell sporting sunglasses and fashionably tight pants. Trump brightens, gently chides them, forgiving their tardiness.
Of course he does.
This is the part that stands out. They did board with a young woman of indeterminate age.
I'm calling it 15 or 16.
Yeah.
Maybe as young as 14.
Right. He goes, I wouldn't be able to tell you if she was 15 or 20. She was quite dressed up and quite made up, so it was hard to tell, Corcoran said over the weekend. At the time, I didn't even know who Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell were, so when they got on, I thought, maybe they're married, and that's their niece. Also, why would you think they're married and that's not their daughter?
Yeah, because she didn't look like them, or she was too hoary looking. They hoard her up to make her look older.
Yeah, or she looked Eastern European because, right, that's where they...
Who knows why these people do any... Why was Barbara Corcoran on the plane in the first place? Why was she hanging out with Trump?
Well, this was an article. They were writing this piece for Maximum.
I understand. But
Corcoran
right,
was.
and Corcoran was... But Barbara Corcoran's a major real estate broker in Manhattan. So she was obviously trying, maybe working with Trump or knew him socially or... Right, and no one ever really talks about that. And then didn't she end up on Shark Tank? Or is that the same person? I don't know if that's the same. I think it might be. But anyway, it's just this was the Manhattan that they lived in. This was the social where they jumped on planes and went, and people for a while they questioned Epstein, but it was most of the people in that circle just went to parties and they didn't know about the gross part. And this is probably one of the first times that someone in that circle was like, maybe that's a little odd, but didn't think to pursue it because of the times or the social setting or the pressure.
You can't say their age; they're too young. I think that qualifies. Here's the thing.
Yeah.
If you don't, here's the other thing. If you enter with a young girl of indeterminate age and you don't introduce who she is, that in and of itself is suspect. It's very sus. It's specifically a problem because if you're entering like, oh, this is my niece Jennifer, this is this is my daughter Claire, this is this is
as you do if you're a proper social person.
This is the daughter of a friend of ours in Palm Beach, and she's flying back with us. Like, you would explain it. The fact that they don't explain it is in and of itself a proof that it was fucked up.
Yeah.
And again, we now know, of course, that his story about like I wasn't a fan of his, and we weren't friends, and blah 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 is all bullshit. And he still visited the club up till 2017 while Trump was president.
He went to the White House when Trump was president.
Yeah, and bragged about it. He texted from there. That's the other thing. Okay, so that of the files that are going to come out, this is very specific. Like of the files that are going to come out, one of the things that's going to happen is his phone records, which they clearly have. Mm-hmm. And the phone records are going to prove the metadata of those things are going to prove where and when text message were sent from. And he messaged and spoke to, I guess it was Steve Bannon from there. Mm-hmm. And then they met up in, because Bannon was going to help him clean up his image ironically with a 60 Minutes interview, which under Barry Weiss he could do right now. And, if he was still alive and get away with all of it, I guess. Sure.
Absolutely.
But he was there for New Year's Eve, at the White House in 2017.
Yes, and that's probably when maybe after that Epstein was like, oh, and by the way, mm-hmm. I'm in a lot of trouble, and I'm gonna have to tell people shit. And now I'm in prison. Now I'm not alive anymore. So it's just like a weird sequence of events. Like, what happened between New Year's Eve 2017 and when he was arrested and eventually unalived, as kids say on the internet? It's just, all of it is sus. But again, all rooted in competition. And it was one of those things that Trump was probably taught early on by Roy Cohn in keeping your enemies closer. Right. And with David Pecker knew all of that shit about them and had all the stuff in the safe. And now we find out people like David Brooks was in the Epstein mm-hmm. files. David Brooks from the New York Times, who wrote not that long ago, I'm not really concerned about what's in the Epstein files. It's not that big of a deal. But
Right.
really, that's because you're in it. So
Yeah.
the more you learn, and there's a meme that I keep on my phone, and it's a Venn diagram, and it's just one circle, and it's people who don't want the Epstein files released, people who are in the Epstein files. It's just one circle,
right?
Because they're one and the same, and it's and now what's happening because the DOJ didn't comply? Shocking. What a weird way for a bunch of innocent, transparent people to behave.
Mm-hmm.
Now Democrats are saying they're going to impeach Pam Bondi, and they're going after everybody connected to, we can't do that for real until we have a majority. So, and as we touched on a little bit earlier, there's this like sort of MAGA exit coming in the House between Marjorie and a couple of other people, and I think that we're eventually going to see. There's every reason to believe that Mike Johnson is going to be replaced as Speaker because he's done such a shitty job, and he's obviously so compromised while living up in Trump's alimentary canal that I don't know that Republicans are going to even have the majority by the midterms in the House because of all of this fuckery and all of this, that they are going to have to seriously make a choice if they're going to remain with Trump and let him take them down, or they're going to step aside and say, I can no longer be associated. I tried. I agreed. And what they would probably do is, I agreed with Trump about the border and I agreed with him about this, but I just can't stand now that I know this. I have to separate myself from this. I was willing to suspend disbelief, but now I've been shown this proof and now I have to walk away. So that's where Republicans, I think, are going to be, they're going to be cornered in 2026 with this kind of information. And if Dr. Adam is to be believed, Trump only has 3 to 5 months before what he calls logging off for good, which I think is clever. But we in no way want to have a situation where J.D. Vance is assuming his seat behind the Resolute desk. So there's a place here where
he'll be a lame duck. He'll be a lame duck with no personality. That part doesn't worry about. That doesn't worry me at all. Yeah.
There's so much to stick to him though. Like, there is a video that I share constantly of J.D. Vance talking to Theo Vaughn, where Theo's like, release the list, and they laugh, and then J.D. Vance goes, seriously, the Epstein list, they need to release the entire list. That it's from not that long ago. So I share that, and of course, even on the good socials, I've shared it on Blue Sky, I've shared it on Insta, I've shared it on my Substack, I've shared it on YouTube, I've shared it on Facebook, and everyone just kind of shrugs, and I'm like, that matters. Like, it matters that J.D. Vance used to call Trump America's Hitler. It matters about him doing whatever he's doing with Erica Kirk. It still matters that Charlie Kirk doesn't have a burial place, that we don't have a medical, we don't have a doctor, we don't have an autopsy report. All of these things matter. What matters the most is making it stick to Republicans. Make it all stick to them. And they can't inherit Trump's Teflon, I don't think.
No.
Like, he's managed, but the rest of them won't be able to.
Part of it goes into this idea that once you've been sold a bill of goods like that, admitting to it is very hard for your ego. Admitting you were suckered is really hard. And Trump benefits from that psychological defense because there's a lot of people find it very difficult to admit just how taken they were by this con man. And again, one of the biggest arguments, for Trump, I think Brolin even said something about, like, he was the greatest salesman he's ever met. I'm like, well, you have to be a great salesman when your product is shit. Like, it's important to be a good salesman in business in general, but the only reason you ever have to be a masterful salesman is when your actual product is garbage. And that's what, and so that should be a lesson learned. If a person is like, check it out, don't listen to me. Here's the car, give it a spin. You let me know if you feel this or whatever. And if you think it costs too much after you've taken it for a drive, then we'll talk or whatever. Like, that kind of salesmanship is a skill. But if you have to just barrage somebody with layers of propaganda like bullshit on everything you're selling, then it's obviously a fucking lemon.
Obviously.
Yeah, Karen says a snake oil salesman, and I completely agree. Yeah.
He's like a walking game of 3-card Monty in
Right.
that cheap shiny suit that's big enough to hide his Foley catheter, except doesn't hide it at all.
Mm-hmm.
He's always been that guy, right? Like I've always known he's that guy, and he's overcompensating for his shortcomings. That's his entire life. It is a cult of self-victimization that starts with him. He's the biggest self-victimizing whining snowflake ever. And
Mm-hmm.
he's given them all the permission to whine and complain, and they want all of us to be as miserable as they are. That's like the
Mm-hmm.
heart of who he is. And they've been like, yeah, I'm mad. Oh yeah, I want you to be miserable too. I'm not miserable.
Right.
I'm not going to
That's
let
the
you make me
key.
miserable. I'm not
That
letting
is the
your shit
key.
infect my. You don't infect my joy. You think
Mm-hmm.
look at me in my Swiftie shirt. I am
Thanks,
loving this
Dargo.
month. This month has been all Taylor Swift. I have watched the documentary. There's 2 more episodes left, and then we get those tomorrow. Tomorrow, right? Yeah, tomorrow. And then the whole final Taylor Swift concert that I was at, I can watch it anytime I want. I want to tell you something. There is a lot to be learned from what if you don't have to be a Swiftie. I would encourage every single human being to watch the documentary to just learn how to treat other people. She is unfailingly generous, and I don't just mean with her
Mm-hmm.
money. I mean with her heart, with her spirit, with her time, with her attention. When she is focused on a person, she makes that person feel like their best friend for if it's 5 seconds, if it's 5 hours. And you watch
Mm-hmm.
how she gives time in the documentary. It's not all about her. You spend a lot of time learning about her dancers, her backup singers, the people who work with her family. You don't even see Travis until episode 4. And
Mm-hmm.
so, but what the biggest takeaway that anybody should get from watching it is you could have all the money in the world, and it doesn't mean you get to be an asshole. The way she treats other human beings,
Yeah.
that
She
is
gave
what,
I want to say she
that is
gave
the,
whatever I want to say $1 million to like or
she gave,
$750,000 to her dancers,
yes,
whatever. She gave everybody got at least a
that's
quarter of
the
$1 million,
rumor.
I think, or something like
Yes,
that. No,
that's the rumor.
yeah.
There's a scene in the documentary where they're standing and so what she did was she gave something like $197 million in bonuses to her entire crew.
Yeah.
$100,000 to the truck drivers. And
Mm-hmm.
she wrote handwritten, there's a scene, she wrote handwritten letters to every single member of her crew.
Right.
Everyone. And
Yeah.
sealed the envelopes with wax. That's
Yeah.
who Taylor Swift is. Handwritten. And it took her a while. She has these bags of envelopes. And there's a circle of the dancers, and Cam, one of the dancers, is reading the letter because it's the same letter to all of the dancers. And when he gets to the amount, his mouth is blurred and they don't let you hear it. And so there are like lip readers trying to figure it out, and it's either 250,000 or it's 750,000.
Right.
But what it is, and what she says to them in the final circle of when they're standing before the last concert, how she imagines them as children, how she imagines them in their old age, and what they're going to tell people from this time.
Mm-hmm.
And what it meant, and the human connection. And I wrote a whole Substack about, and you were talking about comedy earlier. And one of the things that I wanted to talk to you about, maybe we can even spend this last 15 minutes we have together talking about it, is how nothing connects us more like the way music does. And
Mm-hmm.
nothing heals us the way music does. And nothing can change your mood the way music does. And you can find common ground with other human beings that you can't find anywhere else. Except when you're talking about music.
Mm-hmm.
Because Taylor Swift performed for 10 million people on her Eras tour. And she says not 10 million people watching a concert film, which they did, which is great. 10 million human beings
Mm-hmm.
total stood before them and I was one at the last show.
Mm-hmm.
And the responsibility for that and making 10 million people feel good.
Mm-hmm.
I want to have that effect on other human beings.
Yep.
Low Bar Corral does that. Next week, I'm sitting in on Sirius XM Progress for 2 nights with John Fugels for John, because he's okay. One of those nights, I'm having Ben Landsverk, our lead singer of Low Bar Corral. I'm going to have him on, and we're going to talk about the power of music to heal us as humans. And that is what Taylor Swift does. It's what every performing artist tries to do, I think. But the way she's had her same band like her whole career. She's had these backup singers for a really long time. The the way she treats other human beings, her generosity in sharing her stage with her opening acts and her friends, and it's
Mm-hmm.
a lesson in being a human being is what
Mm-hmm.
it is. It just is. And
Yeah.
so if you want to say billionaires shouldn't exist, I'm not going to disagree with you, but the way she gives away her money, the way Mackenzie Scott gives away her money, that's the right way to do it. But if you can do it in a way that benefits humanity, makes people feel good, you can't tell me that of the 10 million people that physically were in the room with her, you can't tell me they were
Mm-hmm.
all liberals. They absolutely were not. You cannot, I will not, I refuse to believe that. I
Right.
know there had to be MAGA people in that crowd. Maybe they left their red hat at home to celebrate the red era in person. But you
Mm-hmm.
can't tell me that everybody was 100% politically aligned at those shows. That is impossible, just statistically. So if you just step back for a moment and reach out into the miasma of the internet and say, here's a song that I love.
Mm-hmm.
Do you love it too? There's a human connection between you and me. We might not agree on anything. I didn't agree with Charlie Kirk about anything except releasing the Epstein files.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure there's a MAGA person out there. Maybe they don't want to admit it publicly, but they love Taylor Swift. They love her. They love her. Whether she may not be MAGA, but they love
right.
her.
Enough
it's
about
the connection.
J.D. Vance.
It doesn't have to be right. But
right.
I mean, he loves eyeliner. Okay,
hey,
we
can
go to Ulta together.
Yep.
But you're a musician, and I know in your core, you understand what it's like to perform for people.
Yeah,
make them happy through music. When I was at your Nerd Halen show, even though somebody died a couple of hours before you were on stage, you were joy, you were energy, and you transmitted that to every single person in that room. And every person in that room left that room on a high, all of it sparking all of the good feelings in your body and your soul and your spirit. We all left feeling better than when we walked in. Like, that's an amazing ability to have as a human being, to be able to do that for other humans.
Let me say for one, January 20th, we have the NAMM version of the Ultimate Jam Night on the 20th, and the 31st, I'm doing a show in Chicago, January 31st for Indivisible at Dino's Pizza. Like out near O'Hare or whatever, but to raise money for them or whatever. So stand up and music in one particular month. Just saying.
Awesome.
And I look like this when I'm doing both, which is nice. It's a good overlap to have.
Because you're a fucking rock star.
Yeah. In terms of people like musicians doing good works or whatever, I don't know how many people are familiar with the Metallica All Within My Hands Foundation. They do. The American Association of Community Colleges, they raise money for trade schools and technical education. They've been doing it for years. They've invested.
Awesome.
They've given $13.5 million worth of scholarships to this. They also fight hunger with the M72 World Tour. Like they were raising money for local food banks everywhere they went. And then they gave money for disaster relief and all these. And they do it everywhere. Metallica does this.
They're quiet about it, right?
Yep.
Yep.
They just do it all the time.
Shit. That is the fucking real shit. Back to Taylor for 1 second. Every city Taylor Swift played in the United States, she donated enough money to local food banks to keep them stocked for 3 years.
Right.
No, not a lot of people know that. Dave Grohl has a side business because, he's hurting for cash. But he has a side business. He has a barbecue business. And he mostly uses it to feed first responders, to feed the homeless, to feed veterans. And then next month, he's on his birthday, but the Foo Fighters are having a concert in LA to raise money to fight food insecurity. It's all you have to donate food. I mean, you have to buy a ticket, but they also are requiring food donations. So, that's the best thing.
Yes.
That's the best part of, if you're going to be famous and super rich and you can use your platform, not just to entertain, but to further education, to further make people's lives better. I mean, there are plenty of musicians who volunteer with Habitat for Humanity, who donate to
That's
Greenpeace,
right.
who donate to future forests to set off the carbon emissions of their private jets because they can't fly commercial anymore. They're just too famous. So, there's good celebrity and there's bad celebrity, and there's good ways to spend your money and there's bad ways to spend your money. And,
Right.
if I ever had the opportunity, and I talk about this a lot, maybe I don't do it on your show, but I do it. It's like a manifestation. But, when I get my streaming series and I get my Sound of Settling, whatever going, and I get all of that, I'm immediately going to turn around and spend all of that money in the best way possible. And I want to recreate what Taylor Swift did with her crew, with a Sound of Settling crew and cast. I want to do that all the time. I want to, 2 weeks ago was the last time I was with you. And we got off the air, and it wasn't anything that we talked about or anything anyone said or did. But I think I was just like in a low place emotionally. And I was like, I just don't want to talk about all of this awful shit anymore. I just want to talk about stuff I miss being able to have a balanced political system. I miss Republicans were never great, and it's never been awesome. But at least there was something that resembled respect in political discourse. At least there was something that resembled dignity in being in public office. At least there was something that was like, they seemed to behave, at least publicly, with some manner of respect and decorum.
Right.
I'm tired of all of the juvenile dipshittery dominating the conversation. Like, I want smart people to be in politics. I want grown-ups to be back in office. Democrat, Republican, I want you to be able to have a debate with your opponent without threatening them with death. I just like basic shit like that can't be people, and I put out the response to the Rob Reiner murder over the same weekend where 15 Jews were slaughtered at Bondi Beach by a father and son who conspired to kill people at a Hanukkah celebration. All of it, just like all of this is hitting me all at one time. And I get extra Jewish around Hanukkah anyway, because Judaism is my bloodline. It's not my belief system. Like, I'm not a religious Jew, but I'm very proud of the heritage. And I will never deny it. We're still, the smallest population of religious people on the planet or whatever. It makes me really angry that people just can't be nicer to each other. A little bit nicer. As guilty as I am of getting angry and whatever, I am in my default, and my mother will tell you this. I don't have a mean bone in my body in that I don't wake up going, who can I fuck with today? Who can I piss off today? Who can I make mad today? It's more like the 5-year-old Tara that still lives here and here just wants everybody to be treated fairly. And they're not. And it makes me upset when people just can't get a break, or things can't be fair. People just can't. It's the fucking holidays, right? We're supposed to peace on earth, goodwill towards men, and they're like, meh, meh, meh. And I have been taking longer and longer breaks from social media and watching stuff on TV.
Well, that's actually
doing that and doing authentic rest, so that I can come back in January and maybe help help all the Oregon Democrats get reelected and all of that energy, but like, for the rest of this month, even when I'm on with, hosting for John next week, I'm going to be talking about things that are going to put goodness into the world. Like,
that's
another part of our responsibility as humans.
There is a trend right now called posting zero that Gen Z is doing and embracing, which has a lot to do with social media fatigue and by the divide put into it. Also, a lot of younger kids who do talk are joining, they're either using WhatsApp or they're using another app or whatever, or texting to speak amongst their social group of actual friends. That is a trend that is happening. And by the way, that is increasingly what's going to happen. Part of it also is that people are getting their chit-chat high off of talking to ChatGPT or something similar, so they feel like they've already had the conversation. Like, if you're going to talk to a bot, at least you know it, right? As opposed to online where, you may not. Well, before we run out of time, I want to address a couple of things, and this might be the sort of the point of conversation. You brought up over the next little bit. You brought up one of them earlier, which is the Barry Weiss story with 60 Minutes about her killing a segment that they did. Because, and again, of course, using this idea that, like, we need more confirmation when there was not a problem with the clarity of the confirmation at all. None. She's very aware they had checked it 3 ways to Sunday, but she wanted the White House, this is abundantly clear, to get a second chance at shaping the narrative. She wanted them to be able to, because the spokesperson had told them to go pound sand, but she was like, I'll call them and then help them shape their message for you. And if you want an example of how she works, watch some of that Erica Kirk thing that she did. She was more angry about the topic than Erica Kirk was. Like, it was bizarre. I have never seen a more leading, like, we're talking about like Springer level shit.
Yeah. And the fact that she's an American Jewish woman, people just assume that I love her. Oh, fuck no, I don't. And Barry follows me on Twitter, which is weird because I don't follow her and I never have. And so I tweet her all the time, like, why'd you do this? Why'd you do this? Why'd you do this? Why'd you do this? She's bringing back the talk and giving Erica Kirk the first slot on it. That's not the talk we should see on CBS, because that's fucking white supremacist propaganda. 100%. You don't need TPUSA talking points on CBS. They have their own place to do that. And I challenge her, like, I tweeted her today. I'm like, why'd you kill the Seacott story? Why'd you do that? I have a friend, one of my oldest friends I went to Emerson College with, is an editor on 60 Minutes, and I'm really worried for him because he is one of the greatest human beings I've ever known. Kind, good, ethical, everything you want someone in journalism, an editor who works for 60 Minutes to be, and he's not allowed to do his job in the way that he's good at doing because of her.
For the record,
and she won't respond to me. So I'm like,
yeah, of course, who gives a shit? She's honestly, I would expect her to, because that's her gig right now is the only. She has an audience. She has an audience of one, which is Trump. Her Barry Weiss. The interesting thing about her is, while she's doing all this claptrap to support the Trump administration and help them basically propagandize extrajudicial killings and extrajudicial removals from the United States, that even the right doesn't trust her. That Erica Kirk gathering that she had is one of the primary pieces of evidence in the schism in the Civil War that blew up at TPUSA this week. One of the reasons why they do need to get on CBS is because they're losing their own audience. That's for all this bullshit we kept hearing about, the mainstream media is gone and nobody watches legacy shit anymore. They all watch podcasts and that kind of stuff. And so TPUSA with the Charlie Kirk show and all the ancillary stuff, or the Daily Wire or Joe Rogan or whatever, we don't need the mainstream media. Well, fuck yeah, you do, because none of them have any editorial weight, any anchor that makes anybody feel good about what they're getting. They think it's just people shooting the shit, which is what a podcast is. It's just people shooting the shit. And when a real journalism happens, it requires work. Even the way she did this was to use journalism's rules against them, to say we need to double check and triple check it. She didn't say we can say whatever the fuck we want, which is what Trump ultimately wants her to do. She just used it because the rules still exist. The reporters won't do this. The journalists won't go, no, I'm not going to rewrite my fucking story to lie for you. So she can only shut things down in the same way that Pam Bondi shuts down Epstein stuff. We can't, if we show everything like we said, everybody will see everything. So we have to pretend, we have to use the rule of law to hold the stuff back, which is that we have an ongoing investigation. That means that the system itself is holding, so much so, including legacy media, that the people on the right are having to use those tools because they are resilient. What greater example is fucking Kash Patel's bullshit about he's going to, turn the FBI headquarters into a museum for the deep state, a memorial to the deep state and all this kind of stuff. And now he's like, won't leave an airplane unless they give him an FBI raid jacket. It's like he's the biggest fucking poser in the world. So I want to bring that to our second little piece, which is this, which is my favorite little nugget that's happening right now. And I don't know how aware you are of this. Former FBI agent Kyle Seraphin implies that Kash Patel might be a closeted homosexual because he lives with GOP mega donor Michael Muldoon. There's rumors passing around the FBI that have kind of intimated, I think is what he meant, intimated that this may be more than just two men living together. And that picture, no shit, right? And that leather boy picture that Kash Patel put out himself.
Yes, I tweet that all the time. It's just like, come on, glory hole. You tweet a picture of yourself photoshopped on a giant leather-bound moose knuckle.
Right.
No straight man does that. Sorry, that's not a cis move.
Yeah, and it's amazing to me that like he put it out, like everybody's like, that was a made up, that's photoshopped. Like, it doesn't matter. He put it out
by him.
It matters. He released it, right? He's the one that furthered it. He retweeted it or whatever the fuck he did at the time, or copied it and pasted it. But the point is,
he tweeted it saying sticking a boot up the deep state's ass.
Okay, so where did this come from? Where did this come from? They don't have a problem with certain, closeted gay men in their organization, whether it's, like Holly, whether it's, Lindsay. Well, Jesus.
Marco Rubio.
Right. As long as they're towing the barge, they don't care, right? As long as they're doing the job.
Is openly gay and
on our side, the opposite is true. Gay or straight, we just want you following along. We don't care about that part. We care about what you're doing.
Right. Always.
Right.
It is. Well, and that's what they do, is that they attack the messengers. They attack the character of the person who is telling the truth.
Yeah.
They are always attacking the messengers, and that's why it's Joe Biden sniffed his kids' heads. What? That's what? Or they make fun of my hair, or they make fun of the way we look, or they make fun of where we live. It doesn't matter. Nope. It doesn't matter where I live. Kash Patel is a closeted glory hole who belongs in prison because he's a fucking traitor. He and Bongino both belong in prison because they ordered people at the FBI to black out anything about Trump in the Epstein files.
Which is a violation of the law that was passed. The Epstein Transparency Act is and by the way, also,
who arrests them though?
Well, there is no statute of limitations on this in the law. Which means anytime there is a Democrat in the White House, or Democrats control the House or the Senate or both, that can happen. You violated the law, and there is no, because the whole idea is the law is not met until the files are released. So whenever the last day you didn't release them, which is yesterday, and then tomorrow it'll be yesterday, and tomorrow it'll be 10 minutes ago. Every second you don't release them, you are violating the law anew. So that right. So that's the part that I think that, they're like, Trump's going to run out of the clock because his brain's turning to tapioca and he's gone. But everybody else, Pam Bondi, Kash Patel, and to some degree Bongholio, who might eventually effectively cover his ass maybe till the end of the presidency and then turn state's evidence because he knows. Because he's seen the shit. And the question is, everybody's like, he wants to go back to his fucking podcast. Well, if he does, and he doesn't go, I saw shit in the Epstein files that blah, 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 that they won't release, then nobody's going to listen to him. Nobody, we never do, but nobody on the right is, because they already feel with his stupid, he hung himself. It's obvious. You could see it plain as day, which is just gnarly horseshit. They know he was full of shit on that, and the only way he could make up for it will require him to talk about how Trump is in there, and Trump's buddies specifically. Correct. So, anyways, this whole Kash Patel is gay thing, and again, that's the interesting thing about that.
And the girlfriend, by the way, the girlfriend that needed
as an Israeli honeypot story, right?
Bullshit. Wag that dog harder, glory hole. That's not. It's not going to work. Who believes that? No, it's so stupid. The Trump show is winding down. It's had a 10-year run. I don't care to see the repeats or we don't need to see it again, and we definitely don't need a reboot ever again after the fuck show and this entire cast of miscreants who were just dug up from the bottom of the bottomest barrel to be yes people for Trump. Not a single one of them qualified, not one of them with the experience to run any kind of anything except
but that was the
maybe a
point.
segment on Fox
It's
News.
the point.
I understand. And
Again,
that was the point. And that is what would have happened in 2020 if they had
if they know how shit works and you tell them to break the law or do something wrong, they're slower to realize, unless somebody in the IG office or something tells them, yeah, you can't do that. That's illegal. I know he asked you to do it, but you can't do it. If you know that, if you're Jim Comey or even if you're Chris Wray, if they ask something that's illegal, you're going to know because you've been a rank and file FBI. You've had that drilled into you over the years. You know what the law is. And you know what post J. Edgar Hoover FBI is. And Kash Patel and Bongholio were specifically hired because they're fucking stupid. Because they don't know immediately that they're being asked to break the law. And by the time they find out, they're complicit in it, and therefore they will go along with it because, holy shit, I broke the law, and now I've just got to go with it and hope I can get out of it. The president will pardon me or fix me. But if I turn on him one day, I'm not going to get a pardon. And that's what this becomes about. So Patel, this is. Well, I wanted to show this real quick, too.
Okay.
This is
show that, but then there's an important point to make that makes all of this possible. So keep what.
Okay, yeah. So this is about the guy that Michael Muldoon that Kash lives with in Las Vegas. The head of the FBI lives with an older man. That's his home in Vegas he's talking about. How weird. Why does the head of the FBI have a roommate? Live? She lives in Nashville.
Why isn't his primary residence a bachelor pad in DC?
Right. Yeah. Like, what do you mean I'm going home? Also, you can't afford an apartment? Yes, he lives in Vegas, allegedly. And again, he lives in Vegas with Michael Muldoon, the GOP mega donor.
You should try to find out where they hang out and just show up there and be like, what's up, Cash?
I don't think they have a Blue Oyster here, and if they do, I wouldn't know the address. But
just check if you could get the Grindr records and get the metadata from Cash's Grindr.
Well, it's going to be hard since it crashed during TPUSA again.
It always does. Weird, right? And you know what? That brings me to the point I would like to make, and maybe this can be the closing point. There are paid MAGA influencers who call themselves journalists. They are not. Call themselves journalists who fly around the country spreading this bullshit. The same people who were sent to Portland to create fake violent stuff. Those are the same ones who go to Phoenix for TPUSA and crash Grindr. People like Tim Pool, people like Benny Johnson, people like Nick Sorter, people, those people. And nobody is talking about these paid MAGA influencers who are calling themselves journalists, who are lying and pushing all of this propaganda that you're putting up on all of the smoke screeny. Don't look at that, look at this. And Bill Clinton. But if Bill Clinton hung out with Jeffrey Epstein, then it's okay that Trump did too. Nobody is really exposing who these people are. And I've tried, but currently I'm not employed and no one's paying me to tell the truth anywhere. So I would love it if anybody who does tell the truth and people listen to, would start talking about that too, because that's a big part of how we are still in this, Project 2025 MAGA bullshit world is because
we're here because we voted. No, we're here because as a public we voted for it, and everybody who everybody who stood down and during the election or voted the other way or flipped their votes or whatever, even legit. I don't mean any shenanigans that might have gone on. Anybody who didn't recognize that this shit was going to happen. It's so ironic because Nick Fuentes, Tim Pool, even to some degree, even Glenn Beck are complaining that what Trump is doing, that's not what we wanted. That's not what we voted for. And last year we were all going, that's exactly what they're going to do. It's in Project 2025. He said it specifically. Of course they're going to fucking do this. So there's no surprise. There is none. And in this particular, and so anybody who says there is, and this is again, we have one job: red, purple, purple, blue. That's it. And one of the things I want to show you real quick is on our way out the door is sort of that even Steven aspect of dealing with this or whatever, is the Stacey Plaskett part. Because this, I don't know if this is part of the news you've been following or whatever.
Yeah, this I thought was weird, and I pointed it out at the time. I'm like, why were you texting?
Okay, so
because
one
Epstein
of the reasons
Island is off of Puerto Rico, and she was aware of the fuckery.
No, his private island is covered under the Virgin Islands.
Okay. That's right, Virgin Islands, not Puerto Rico.
Yeah. She's technically, his island is there, and he's one of the big, he was at the time, even still, one of the big rich landowners in her district. And which is fucked up. Also, when she was part of the economic development, the EDE or the EDI or whatever it was, in the Virgin Islands that she was on before she ran for office, she okayed I want to say $185 million in tax breaks for him and his island and his St. Thomas thing or whatever. And by the way, Trump as well.
I don't like that.
Nope. So Trump specifically, Trump says he's never been to the island. Well, but Trump has a property in St. Thomas. There is no record of Trump flying to St. Thomas, to his own property. The only one that he has that he's never gone to makes no fucking sense, which means every time he went, they scrubbed it. What was the trick with Epstein Island? Was that if you flew there, most people did not fly straight to Epstein Island. They didn't land there. They flew to St. Thomas and they took a boat or a helicopter.
Right, one of those puddle jumpers.
And one of the things they very well probably did, and this will come out eventually, fuck these people, is that they stayed at Trump's property officially, but went over to the island unofficially. So they would, all those people who were going to these weird gatherings at Epstein Island were guests at Trump's St. Thomas resort. And St. Thomas is the only property that I know of that he has that apparently he's never flown to, which makes no fucking sense. By the way, weird. I don't know that there's a record of anybody in his family flying there, specifically, which again looks scrubbed specifically. Yeah. So anyway, so Stacey Plaskett, part of a panel of people, obviously, but signed off on this big tax break for Jeffrey Epstein. And one of the stories was that she was texting with him during the hearings with Michael Cohen.
Right.
And this is when Michael Cohen was being adversarial. And it was...
he was feeding her information, like ask him about this, ask him about that, and then she immediately asked him about it. Yeah,
yeah, and on the one hand, the ties are hinky, and the fact that she was texting specifically him is one thing, but at that point, Epstein was either in the process of trying to help burn Trump down because Trump had dry snitched on him in 2005 or 2004 around then. Because over that real estate deal, and that's what eventually got him arrested. But then he got the deal from because Trump literally said they're going to raid your house. I heard it from a friend when he was the fucker who called it in. Clearly, she was like this. She may have been very smart to ask him, who was willing to roll up the chain to. I don't care how big Jeffrey Epstein is. The president of the United States is bigger. So I get that if that's your goal, it makes sense. But still, very fucked up. And one of the things is she could have, the weird part to me, and the part that stood out to me in this, is that she could have gone, I'm currently texting with one of my constituents who happens to be a former best friend of Donald Trump, right?
She sure could have.
She could have said, and he's gone to jail himself for some rather untoward things. I'll mention it in just a moment. But he has very intimate knowledge of him, and very well perhaps may end up at some point being a witness, maybe trying to buy himself some time out of jail or something in the future, that's a very strong possibility that he might be trying to even reach out to me with this information, and I will share it with you. She could have said that overtly.
Sure.
And it would have like blown the whole fucking thing wide open. It literally, if Stacey Plaskett at that moment when Michael Cohen was being adversarial, if she would have gone, I'm talking to a really good friend of his, and you know him very well, don't you, Michael Cohen? And his name is Jeffrey Epstein. And he's asking me.
That would have been amazing.
It would have been huge. So that's why I think it's hinky and fucked up.
Yes, and it would have helped immensely for the Biden
it would have been
campaign.
It would have obliterated Trump at that point. And interestingly enough, Epstein might still be alive. He might have been put in protective custody. He might have had some sort of like, like there would have been more eyes on where he was and that kind of stuff and who handled his case and that kind of stuff. So he could have actually gone to fucking jail and rotted and became an old man with nobody to fuck for the rest of his life. And him and his fucking pear-shaped dick being, like having to shower with other men forever. Right?
Gross.
I'm saying.
I know what you're saying, and I don't disagree with you. So,
she could have done beyond what she shouldn't have done.
Woulda, coulda, shoulda. There's so many woulda, coulda, shouldas with the Democrats over the last year that we need a whole other hour to get into the woulda, coulda, shoulda, starting with the election and everything else. So, but we can't do that because we're already over. So instead, I'll just say, thank you, Sparklers. It's nice to be back with you. If you are so inclined, I would appreciate it if you would sign up for my Substack. Because that's the only source of income I have at the moment. So that my Substack, and I've also changed the link. Tammy, great sparkler, helped me with TaraDublinRocks.com, and it used to go to Amazon, but now it goes to Powell's, the independent bookstore that everybody should. Yeah. So because, I started it, I had her do it before the economic blackout started, and I don't see a reason to change it back. I mean, I definitely get more royalties from Amazon, but I also understand that people don't want to buy from Amazon. And so when you buy from an independent bookstore like Powell's and you're supporting an independent writer, that's a good thing you can do during the holiday season of giving.
Again, here's what I will also say. Any place that's selling books is good. Like, just buy books, period.
Please
Physical
buy
books. However they end up in your hands. Yes, right. But however they end up in your hands, there is such a gradation of things we have to deal with and things that don't fucking matter and are gripes, that things are so serious that honestly everything, when you got a passive eugenicist running Twitter, Bezos just being a rich dick is immaterial comparatively. Right. You know what I mean? Like it's not gonna matter. It doesn't matter right now. It's a standard kind of rich guy getting a tax break, but compared to Palantir, literally, we need to pick our battles, really. Right. And in this particular instance, any place you can get a paper book or with pages and an actual cover beats the alternative, right? I'm glad books are still being sold. Let's just put it that way.
A blurb from Cameron Crowe. Right there. That's a blurb from Cameron Crowe is what that is. So, and Ellen Barkin wants to play the rock star's mom in the eventual streaming series. And who wants to disappoint Ellen Barkin? I don't want to disappoint Ellen Barkin. Not me. Neither do you.
No, of course not. Because I am Buckaroo Banzai, and that would be a bad move on my part.
And there would be I love that movie. There would be also a part in The Sound of Settling and its sequel, or one somewhere. There will be room for Hal Sparks. In this universe. There's absolutely room for you.
One of my favorite lines ever in cinema comes from Buckaroo Banzai. When Ellen Barkin is in the audience and she's crying. And it stopped they stopped the show because of it. And they're booing her and he goes, no, don't be mean. Remember, wherever you go, there you are.
Absolutely.
And
here we are. And I'm grateful to be here with you.
It gets quoted all the time, but they leave off the first part, which is don't be mean.
Don't be mean.
So, anyways, much love. Thank you for being with me today on the show.
I love you guys. Take care of each other. I'll see you next Monday, okay?
Okay.
Well, are you gonna be? Are
Excellent.
we gonna be here next Monday? Are we
Yep.
gonna do this next Monday? All
Yep.
right, then I'll see you next Monday.
All right.
Okay, bye, guys.
Bye. There she goes, ladies and gentlemen. Excellent. Tell Tara she needs to have a script to market her idea for a movie. Yeah, I mean, she's got a book and a breakdown, so that's usually okay. They'll usually want to hire a screenwriter if they don't trust you as a writer to do your own thing. I would argue it's she lives in Portland. She's not that far from Seattle. You could drum up some indie financing and film the fucking thing. Yeah, that's right. Don't be mean. Super crucial. So yeah, I have no problem whatsoever calling out Stacey Plaskett and going, "What the fuck? That's kind of hinky." In the same way that I don't have a problem if Bill Clinton, becomes a pariah. There are dozens. Here's a good example. There are dozens of movies that were produced by Harvey Weinstein that were good for women as characters, were well known and important Oscar contenders and winners and the like. Still fuck him. Bye. Doesn't mean everybody else who worked on those movies has to carry the weight of what he did. I mean, you need only look at what happened to the financial future of the cast of The Cosby Show when Trump got fucked up. I mean, when Cosby got fucked up by Life, when he really got busted. The show got pulled everywhere. All those residuals evaporated. And that was, no one else on The Cosby Show was guilty of any of that shit. I find it amazing that, I really loved hold on, let me see if I can bring up the poster for it. Angel Heart, there you go. Yeah, here you go. Boink. I don't know how familiar you guys are with Angel Heart. Let me move this up here so you can see it. I love this movie. I thought it was great. Hold on. Why does this shrink down, you silly thing? And minus there. With Lisa Bonet and Mickey Rourke and De Niro. And Lisa Bonet is fantastic in it. But apparently Cosby was basically excommunicated her for doing this movie. And it's a fantastic film. And after the fact, at the time, it made sense. Here's this guy with this show where everybody's he's America's dad and all that shit. And ultimately, not daughter, wife at one point. He's criticizing, he's chastising her for doing this movie. Compare anything in this fucking movie to what Cosby was doing in real life, what his true life was like at the same time. He was criticizing her for doing this movie, what he was doing to women at the same fucking time. Fuck that dude. So gross. The thing that makes me most angry about, that was in 1987. Like the height of him drugging and raping women. I mean, he'd been doing it forever, but he got on a fucking roll. 85 to 93 or whatever it was. Used to have a tour manager. True story. That did some of the comedy stuff that I did. And he, at one point, worked for the company that did Cosby's tours. And he told us all a story about when he was working with Cosby. And Cosby's wife, Camille, would watch the money very closely because apparently he was spending a lot of it on high-end escorts and lewds, I guess. Although maybe he was nursing a batch he'd had since the 70s, because I think they stopped making them, but some equivalent thereof. And this guy said that one of the deals that Cosby and his agent had because of that was that there would be an amount of money that was the above the on the table amount of money for the gig, for the show, whatever it was. And then there would be an amount of money that would be spoken of under the table, like as a per diem, that would never be written about. There could be no text messages about it. There could be no emails about it, and it would not be in the contract. It was all verbal. And so they had to, and it was about, I think it was like $10,000 or $20,000 for each show he was doing. He was making like $100,000 a show at colleges, and they would pay him an extra $20,000, 10 or 20, depending on whatever. It was a percentage amount. It was like 10% of whatever he was making, plus the overage. 10 if there, and then from the take of the day, if they sold a bunch of tickets, he'd get an extra 10 straight out of the coffers of the cash for the tickets that were there that day. So he'd walk out with either 10 or 20, no matter what, in his hand that his wife never knew about. And he would pay for hookers with that or something. Or like I said, the substances that, or paying girls to shut the fuck up. Like gifting girls money on the campuses or something like that. Or just like not active prostitution, just like basically a soft bribe to keep quiet. And like he spoke of this openly with us about this because it was understood. And that was at the time when I had an agent that I like very much as a person for the most part. I mean, I have my issues now, but mainly just disappointment. But it seemed like every time I turned around, whoever my agent was saying, you should do something like they're doing. You know, as a way to kind of move myself up into the next tier of where I was. It was always somebody like Chris D'Elia or James Franco, or somebody who was caught fucking around with underage girls. Without fail. It was very strange. Like, none of them were like, look at what Jim Gaffigan's doing. Like, maybe you should not swear so much. Maybe that'll help you. Yep, my brother used to work at an engineering firm in Vegas, and they used to take customers or employee cut out for entertainment, and they would just ring up as movie or room service. They had all kinds of mechanism to hide a good time for the guys. Yeah, that's fairly common, Water Goddess, absolutely. Boston Brian's on. Oh, well, I will leave and let you guys watch him, and I'll see you guys later this afternoon. We'll raid into his show right now. But it was just funny to me that they never were like, you should be more like this good guy. It was always odd that their suggestion always seemed to be about somebody who was kinda awful. Yeah, Rusty Trombone, same thing. When he first started podcasting and the like. Also, I wanted to put this up, we'll talk about this later, but Trump doctors check how bad he's doing as cognitive decline continues. Frequent checkups for Donald Trump could point to monitoring a health problem rather than finding it, a psychologist has claimed. Dr. John Gartner believes the 3 Montreal cognitive assessments is to monitor an existing condition that could indicate just how rapid the president's cognitive decline is. The same with the MRIs. Dr. Gartner, speaking to the Daily Beast, says Trump gave the game away when boasting about his brilliant health aboard Air Force One. Says he got every answer right. He repeated his claim in October, and he said he had passed a very hard test that a low IQ person could not have done. They have Jasmine Crockett, a low IQ person, AOC low IQ. If you gave her an IQ test, have her pass like the exams that I decided to take when I was at Walter Reed. I took, these are very hard. They're really aptitude tests, I guess, in a certain way, but they're cognitive tests. Let AOC go against Trump. Let Jasmine go against Trump. I don't think Jasmine, the first couple questions are easy. A tiger, an elephant, a giraffe. You know, when you get up to 5 or 6, then when you get up to 10, 20, and 25, they couldn't come close to answering any of those questions. He believes that those tests are to monitor an existing dementia condition that tracks signs for it starting. You know, he kind of gave the game away, as he often does. You might have you could maybe justify giving someone the MOCA once just on their age, but as part of a physical, just as part of a physical. If you're giving it to him 3 times, that means you're not assessing dementia. That means you're monitoring dementia. And on that note, kids, see you later. By the way, don't forget, share the show, like, subscribe, give it a thumbs up, etc., etc. Whoops, I went to the wrong page. And I will see you guys later this afternoon. Take care of yourselves and take care of somebody else. Just saying. All right. Meanwhile, we'll raid our dear friend Boston Brian at this point, if we could. Oh yeah. Thanks for subscribing, guys. Love you. Thank you, Thomas. Oh, gotta eat. Winky, pinky. Okay. Okay, no Boston Brian show today? Oh, sorry. Then Trucker John or somebody. We'll raid somebody. Leave it in your capable hands, CSL. Thank you, Andrea.